Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tiana Ham and I am so excited to talk with y'all again about a communication theory I've been studying. So this one was put together by Erwin Altman and Dalmas Taylor, and they are two wonderful psychologists, one of whom is still around today and he's still skiing in his 80s, which is so cool. Not entirely relevant, but I thought it was cool. And anyway, so we're going to talk about their theory called social penetration theory. And I think this is probably one of my favorite communication theories. I'm so excited to talk to y'all about it. I'm so excited to explain some of the scientific research that has been done to apply this theory. And okay, let's get into it. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, let's get settled in, just like always. And let's get into it. Okay, so this theory is proposed kind of like an onion theory. So if you think about Shrek and how he says, ogres have layers. Well, Erwin Altman and Dalmas Taylor figured that conversation has layers. And their theory, you might think, is kind of playground rules. Like, obviously, that's how friendship works, that's how relationships work. But I love to see it in this breakdown. So I don't have an onion. Onions make me cry. But I made my own little visual representation to show you. So I'm going to give you a scenario. Just run with it. Just try to close your eyes and picture it a little bit. So let's figure it's one day you wake up, you're super excited. So let's say you have, maybe an art class or a dance class that you're so excited to go to. It's your first time, you're a little nervous, but at the same time, you're really excited. On your way, you have to stop. Maybe you have to buy a bottle of water, just something to keep you hydrated during this class. So you stop into a grocery store, you get the bottle of water, you go to check out. Well, there's a cute cashier, so you'll start talking while he's checking you out. And in doing so, you maybe peel back the first layer of conversation, right? Like, you learn each other's names, you learn that, oh, well, he grew up in the same town I did. I don't know how we didn't know each other. You get through this first layer, right? It's kind of small talk, kind of like just chit-chat in the cashier aisle. And you don't really get far, right? Like, there's no intimate details, there's no vulnerability. It's literally just small talk. How's the weather? How's your day going? How are you? Great, good. How are you? That kind of thing, right? Not far. You didn't take very many layers off. Well, then you get to your class, and you're kind of in the back of the class. You're a little nervous. But you look over, there's somebody else keeping to the back of the class. They're kind of nervous. Well, you're afraid. They're afraid. During a water break, you go over and you go talk to them. And you have that small chit-chat. Oh, yeah, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Well, as the class goes on, maybe 2 weeks later, you'll start talking more. Maybe you meet up after class or before class, and you start learning more about what they do for a living, where they went to school. 3 weeks later, a month later, you'll start talking outside of class. You're texting on the weekends. You're meeting up for lunch. You'll start to learn a little bit more. They have family. Who's their best friend? Do they have a dog? Then maybe a little bit longer goes by, maybe not, maybe it happens really quickly for you. You'll start getting into some more intimate conversation, y'all are becoming really good friends. They share something really horrible happened to them over the weekend. Maybe they lost their pet, maybe, they failed a class, they're really down, they share that with you. Well, they're being vulnerable, so now you feel comfortable being vulnerable with them. So now y'all start opening up and having these more deeper communications, right? This harder conversation. And then you feel safe with this person because, well, they let you be vulnerable with them, right? And now you'll have reached the last layer, and you're at this more intimate level, right? And you see that the more communication you have, the more vulnerable you are, the more intimate the detail is, the further those layers come off. You didn't get that many layers off with the cashier, because that was just small talk. With your friend that you've met and you've really developed this friendship with them, you're having more intimate conversation, you're talking more, you're getting through more details. And I think that is just a beautiful way to represent it. Maybe the ogre onion works a little better. But anyway, so now that we understand a little bit of the theory, right? So the more intimate the conversation, the more intimate the relationship, right? That's kind of how it works. Well, let's talk about some of the ways that this has been applied. Okay, so if you think about, I don't know if you've ever attended a support group, Well, there was this study that was done on a group of people who were looking to lose weight, right? So they're in this online support group, and they realized that whenever people shared, like, that they were going through kind of the same thing as this person, right? So they shared that they're about the same weight, their goals of losing weight was about the same. Well, now that they're similar, they felt more comfortable being vulnerable with each other. Well, I'm really struggling to lose this last 10 pounds. Like, it's really tough. I really want to do this. I really want to do that, and I feel like I just can't. This person's like, I'm really going through that same struggle. It's been really tough for me. Well, the study found that the more similar they were, the more vulnerable they were able to be together, the more communication they shared, that these people actually achieved their goals more than people who didn't. And I thought that was so fascinating to see that this study of social penetration, the closer you feel with people, the more you're able to achieve. And I thought that was just absolutely beautiful to see. And like, it's scientifically proven. I just thought, do with that information what you will. I was wondering, like, can they like capitalize on this? Is there a way that we can use this similarity, this social penetration, to really help people achieve more? Like, if we're in a class, could the teacher use maybe, putting us in small groups, making us spend time in class, getting to know each other. That way you feel connected to the class. You've got this kind of intimate relationship with your classmates. You're more inclined to do the work. You're more inclined to succeed in the class because you want to see your friends succeed. They want to see you succeed. And I wonder if that would help people. Let's continue on. So I know in the past we've talked about relationships, right? Like, I've given you helps. I've given you tips, some helpful tips, hopefully, to get, your introverted friend out there. We've talked a little bit about breakups. Well, I want to talk to you about marriage. So there were 2 different studies done that I focused on, and one of them talked about, like, marital satisfaction, right? And so we'll put this study here. And then there was another study done on idiomatic communication. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I only read it. I don't ever speak of it. Anyways, so idiomatic communication is these pet names, these nicknames, and even it can be like social cues, like not social cues, I'm so sorry, physical cues, like body language. So me and my fiance, we're so, I don't want to use the term dumb, but what we like to do is, like, whenever somebody says something, and we'll have like an inside joke about it, like, we just kind of, and it happens without fail. So one of my favorite examples is, we go over to his father's house a lot, and his father has this really nice, like, backyard bar. Well, we always bring our friends over, and Jacob's friend, my fiance's friend, Garrett, has this joke with Jacob's dad, where, I won't get into the details, but because it's this joke that we all have, anytime that Garrett does anything that, like, hints at that joke, me and Jacob just kind of, we can look at each other, and it just, anyways, there's, like, that's just a thing that's in our relationship, right? Like, if you happen to walk by and see me and Jacob doing that, you probably wouldn't understand all of the things that are going on in our heads, but me and him are on the same level about it, right? So there's just all of these little things, right? These nicknames, these phrases, these, Jacob knows that if I do this, I'm really struggling, especially in school. He just knows. I send him this, and he's like, oh, it's gonna be okay. I'll drop off some coffee. Anyways, maybe you can think about some of those idiomatic communication things that you have with your friends. Maybe you have them with your mom. Maybe you have them with your significant other. But studies showed that the more a couple used these idiomatic communications, and the more positive they were, the higher their satisfaction was in their relationship, the more likely they were to kind of escalate and, like, become more intimate. The more likely they were to peel back those layers of the onion and just be really intimate, very close, very happy in their relationship. And this other study that was done just about marital, satisfaction showed that the more the couple communicated, the deeper and more intimate the communication was between them, the more satisfied they were in their relationship. in like the day-to-day and in the long term. And so it just goes to show that this social penetration theory applies to health. It applies to computer-mediated communication, right? Like those online support groups. It applies to relationships. It applies to your friendships, your relationship with your parents, your relationship with your significant other. It applies everywhere. And I would love to see this studied more. I would love to see how it applies to, I don't know, like, can it apply, I mean, I'm sure it can apply at work, it can apply everywhere. I want to see, is there a place that it doesn't apply? That's what I want to see. Can somebody prove to me that social penetration theory does not work in a certain situation? That's what I'd like to see. As always, I'll give you all of the references. That way you can do your own research. You can, comment if I was off the mark, if I interpreted the research wrong, if you interpreted it a different way. If you have questions, just let me know. I would love to talk more about it because, like I said, I think this is my all-time favorite communication theory. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm so glad I got to talk with y'all again. Have a great one.